Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Hopefully the Vulture event is going well for you guys, hopefully you're having a good time with it, and I thought in this video we would talk about hopes that I have for the next major update. Since there's not a huge turnaround time from the last update to this one, there's probably not going to be a ton of stuff going around in terms of mechanics and in terms of stuff like that. Probably going to be very vehicle focused, but I thought in this video I would talk about some stuff I would like added, plus some vehicles that I personally really enjoy. There's also something else that's going on right now. The Scottish flag is available. You can actually pick it up in-game right now from the 30th of November until the 3rd of December. So it costs a little bit of GE if you want to pick it up. For some reason, they don't have it available all the time. No idea why, but it is at least available now. So pick it up to celebrate St. Andrew's Day and also be able to put it on your vehicles. As always, if you enjoyed the videos, make sure to subscribe. Let's get started. The first thing that I would like updated or changed is of course the new profile. The new profile is anemic, it doesn't have a lot to it, there's hardly anything to really show the player through. The whole idea I thought of the profile was to be able to do more customization, was be able to kind of put your presence onto the profile, but right now you can't really do anything, and I understand if this is like the first step in a long road of improving the profile to give people a bit more pizzazz, but at the moment you just can't do anything with it. So hopefully this happens sooner rather than later. I actually think it would have been better if they kept the old profile until the newer one was ready. If this is its kind of ready state, I don't think they've really talked about it too much in terms of what they're going to do with it, but at the moment it just makes me sad. Whenever you have a system and it gets replaced by another system, but that new system has less than the old system, of course it's going to annoy people. This is one of the things about stuff like the Payday series, where you have Payday 3, which gets released and has less stuff than Payday 2, because obviously it's a building game, and then, you know, they add DLCs, and they add different things, but the point is nobody wants to play Payday 3. Because Payday 2 exists already, and it already has all of the different stuff, so why would you play Payday 3? The problem with this profile is it's thrust upon you, and it has less stuff. So hopefully, in the next update, they really ramp it up, because otherwise I feel like this is going to be a sticking point for a lot of people where they're going to get annoyed, and I understand why, because right now, it just looks very bad. One of the other parts of the game that I feel needs a bit of pizzazz would be the Warbond shop. The Warbond shop itself really hasn't changed too much over the last period of times. They've obviously added some like talismans to it, they've added some old decals to it, and obviously they've added the collection for the set of decals that they did over the last few years. But hopefully with the new year coming up, we can also have a new reinvigorated Warbond shop, because it is a key part of the game, at least for me and many others, since it's tied to the battle pass, which is more of a seasonal event where, you know, you grind out the dailies, you grind out the specials, and it's one of the ways that players, all players across the board, are able to get content for free, which is quite nice. And overall, when it comes to the Warbond shop, I feel like there are many different ways that they could improve it, whether it's doing stuff like SL talismans for specific vehicles, whether it's stuff such as adding higher ranked premium vehicles instead of rank 1s and 2s. At least with this Warbond shop, they did a few rank 3s, which is quite nice. But we have 8 ranks in the game right now, so maybe at some point they could improve that part. The other interesting thing would be adding old event vehicles, or even just old vehicles that were removed from the game to the Warbond shop. If you get, you know, the coupon for it, or if you actually grind out the Warbonds, you select the vehicle, it gives you a set of challenges. If you complete those challenges, you get the vehicle. Easy peasy, simple stuff to keep people playing and also get content that doesn't exist anymore. And that would mean that the balance of the game would be better, because people would have access to more of the stuff which isn't around. Therefore, you wouldn't have this whole disparity between the new players and the old players, which of course is a bit of a problem. You could also bring back a lot of the old weekly decals, which they've just removed, and that is kind of sucky that that stuff has disappeared. hopefully at some point they could reinvigorate the Warbond shop with stuff like this. I think it would be great to see. Reinvigorating the Page of History would also be something that I would like to see. I really enjoy the Page of History system. I think in general it actually works very well, and now, of course, we have Creighton Abrams being the December one. But with the update being in late December, of course, this coincides with January coming out. It coincides with the winter event, which supposedly is going to be like some of the old-style events. And also it coincides with, of course, a new year for the Page of History. Now, I like the profile system, where you get a profile icon every time. I like the fact that every time you complete one, you get access to a booster or a camo or, you know, some SL, whatever it is. I generally think this is very positive. The problem I have with it is now, with the way that the Page of History works, we've had a few years of it, and there is a lot of parts of it which are basically designed to cover certain parts of the Second World War, which means that 90 to 95% of the game is never actually touched by the Pages of History. I want a system which is more designed around getting a bunch of different nations involved in it. So instead of just having most of them being USA, Germany, USSR, and Britain, and then some Japanese ones every so often, and then some Italian ones, and sometimes French ones every so often, why not have ones which celebrate specific countries' days? Maybe if there's a Swedish day, or maybe there's like an Israeli Independence Day thing, maybe you could throw that into the Pages of History, so it isn't just about military operations that happened, because obviously certain nations are going to miss out on that since they didn't have those military operations at that time. Now, they have expanded it, making more modern Pages of History, which is really nice, so that has involved more countries, but in general, I think just, once again, generalizing certain specific ones just to involve others, like Sweden, for example, which just never gets into the Page of History stuff, and also China hardly does as well. It would just be nice to see them more involved in these systems, and hopefully then what you could do with the Page of History, maybe you could make it something where if you complete X amount of them, maybe it unlocks a bunch of challenges, so you can get some unique camouflages for vehicles, which are also part of the profile pic. So for example, once again, Creighton Abrams. Imagine if you complete the Creighton Abrams profile picture, you do all of the things, and then for 3 or 4 months you do all the Pages of History ones. This unlocks a camouflage for, let's say, a Sherman, which would be in his honor. Something which keeps people going for all of these things to kind of stretch it out. I think in general that would be really nice. Now, in terms of vehicles, I would actually like to see them go into World War II SPHs. We've had a lot of modern SPHs, and even in the next update, you have the PZH-2000, which has been leaked. Wouldn't it be really cool to see stuff like the Hummel, the Vesp, even things like the Sexton, and also vehicles like the Bishop. Even Japan has a bunch of weird and wonderful SPHs, and other nations do too. And with the way that overpressure works right now, where basically your armor doesn't matter if you are facing a lot of SPHs, it would be quite fun, but also at the same time, it would push Gaijin to actually fix overpressure and make it not as ridiculous as it is, and therefore HE would actually lose penetration when it hits a surface, which would be quite nice. But yeah, it would be really cool to see these types of vehicles at the lower echelons. There's something which I feel like always ends up being like event vehicles or premiums for some reason, when you think about stuff like the Sturm Tiger and also stuff like the Brumbar, which was brought in. But why not have these things just in the mid-tiers just to have a bit of fun with? I mean, we've been focusing a lot on like light tanks over the last period of time in War Thunder. Why not shift to these kind of World War II SPHs to have a bit of fun with? I really think it would be awesome to see stuff like the Priest and many others. The fact that we're getting the M44 is a step in that direction as well, which would be nice to see. Other vehicles, now that we have the F-117 in, I think it's time to unleash the floodgates on these kind of Cold War bombers. Add them in as squadron vehicles, balance them by their loadouts, and then from there just chuck them in. If we're going to add the F-117 17, which of course is a vehicle which has a very, very, very small niche in the game. It is time to add a bunch of others too, because otherwise we can't. Otherwise, like the dam is broken, right? Like we have fake vehicles in the game. We have these vehicles which don't really do anything. So now, if you're going to use the squadron vehicles as a unique, interesting area, now it's time for stuff like the Vulcan, now it's time for stuff like the Victor, even things like the B-52, even things like the Big Old Bear. Just add them all in, just go crazy, right? And if they are taking over games, just bump them up in BR, just like you did with the B-29 and the TU-4, and yeah, just put them at worthless BR brackets. Because if we are at a point now where we're just adding vehicles which just don't have any worth, let's go for it. Let's go crazy. Why not? Why not have a bit of fun? So yeah, that's my thoughts on it. In terms of the setup, let's do it. Why not? Go crazy. Ah! I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.